tonight. The Trump campaign filing an arbitration action against Omarosa, claiming her book and book tour are violating an NDA. That's a confidentiality agreement. It comes after the Washington Post reported that Omarosa was offered $15,000 a month by the Trump campaign to keep quiet after she was fired from her White House job, and that money added up to $180,000 a year, which of course was the top salary at the White House, which she was being paid. Out front now, former president and chief operating officer of Trump Plaza Hotel and Casino, Jack O'Donnell. He's also the author of the book Trumped, the inside story of the real Donald Trump, his cunning rise and spectacular fall. Jack, good to have you back. So when you learned, when you say that when Trump learned, you were writing this book, right? You were writing this book back in 1990. Then one of his lawyers reached out, tried to pay you off. Tell me what happened.
Well, he didn't just reach out, Aaron, and thank you for having me, by the way. Unannounced at my office, I was working for Merv Griffin by then. The attorney showed up at my office, walked in unannounced, and said he wanted to talk to me. He said, "We've heard about the book. We want to know what we can do to have you kill it. What do you need?" And I said, "Joe, I don't need anything." I said, "The book is way beyond that point, and I need to write this book anyhow to set the record straight on a few issues." But he clearly was offering money if I would kill the publication of the book.
So you say, in addition to that, and I presume, you're saying it was very clear, but obviously it doesn't sound like it was explicit in terms of amount or anything like that, but you also received threats, warnings. What were they? Are these things that you think Omarosa should be thinking about now?
Well, immediately, during that conversation, when he realized that I would not take money, the threats started right then and there, face to face. The attorney then told me that he was sorry that that was my position, and that what they were going to do next was that they were going to go out on a campaign to try to ruin my marriage by creating stories that I was having affairs. They also went on to say that they were going to ruin my career professionally, and they were going to try to tie my business ethics into a customer who was allegedly an organized crime member, and made it very clear to me that they were going to ruin my life, right then and there. After that time, and I did report that to the Division of Gaming Enforcement in New Jersey the next day, because I thought the threats were so serious. But the threats didn't stop after that, Aaron. They continued. I got not only anonymous threats, but I was told by another executive in the organization to be careful, that I was being followed 24/7, that they were going to do anything that they could to get their hands on that manuscript.
And obviously you did go ahead and publish it. I mean, Omarosa now has gone ahead with her book, which, look, there appear to be some serious factual errors in there, but she does have tapes which have come out and raised questions. The president has responded by calling her a loser, a lowlife, and a dog, among other things. Do you think his attacks on Omarosa are racist?
Well, I absolutely do. I think that maybe, people associate the negative connotation of a dog with a woman when they say, when they use it that way. So I think that's normal. But I think combined with Omarosa being a woman and an African American, I think he's used it very strategically. And listen, he does have a very long history. He is a racist through and through. He doesn't have to use the word N-word for it to become very clear what he is. And I think in this case,
him use that word
I think he used it very
right?
strategically.
The N-word itself, just to be clear.
Aaron, to be clear, he never used that word in front of me. And the multiple times that he talked negatively about blacks, Puerto Ricans in particular, and women, and also, by the way, people with lower economic capability. He talked very derogatively about all four of those groups of people.
Can I quote,
but he never
Jack,
did use that word.
Okay. And to your point, though, I think what you're trying to say is he didn't use that word, but he did express incredibly racist sentiments. And I want to quote from your book. You say, and this is you quoting Trump, quote, "I've got black accountants at Trump Castle and at Trump Plaza, black guys counting my money. I hate it. The only kind of people I want counting my money are short guys that wear yarmulkes every day. I think the guy is lazy. And it's probably not his fault because laziness is a trait in blacks. It really is. I believe that. It's not anything they can control." I mean, just let that sink into everybody for a moment, Jack. And then let me ask you a very just important question, I think. Did you write this down right after? I mean, was that off a tape? I mean, you put it in quotes. Is that truly in quotes. That's what he
Yeah.
said.
Yeah. Yeah. I did write that down, Aaron, right after it happened. And also when I came back from that meeting at Trump Tower in New York, this was prior to the accident, and I was the President Chief Operating Officer, but I had a gentleman, Steve Hyde, that I reported to, and I told him about it because I was concerned because that was really the first time that it became crystal clear how Donald thought about black people.
And do you think, we know the president has talked about taping people, Omarosa's taping people. Do you think there's going to be more tapes coming out of the White House from others?
Well, listen, there's a very bad culture, it appears, in the West Wing, and it really has been going on since he took office. So it wouldn't surprise me. I clearly think it wouldn't surprise me if Trump himself was continuing his pattern of taping people. But it wouldn't surprise me if there's more tapes there. And you and I spoke about it a few weeks ago. It's the way he's lived his life. I mean, he's more Tony Soprano, than he is presidential. And he's not going to change just because he's trying to be a president today.
All right. I appreciate your time. Good to talk to you again, Jack.
Thank you, Aaron.
By the accused killer in New Zealand as a symbol of white identity, say critics of Donald Trump there's a reason hate crimes are on the rise.
I can tell you this, his rhetoric doesn't help.
Democratic presidential hopeful Amy Klobuchar underlining this morning that when it comes to extremism, words matter, and Trump's words matter a lot.
At the very least, he is dividing people. They are using him as an excuse.
Whether he's labeling undocumented migrants invaders, Mexicans as rapists, or defending so-called white nationalists as very fine people, Trump's language is increasingly seen as part of the problem. On Friday, it was what he didn't say. To the question, does he see white nationalism as a rising threat around the world?
I don't really. I think it's a small group of people that have very, very serious problems.
In fact, various reports lately suggest the opposite, highlighting the rise in this country of racist groups, racist rallies, propaganda, and yes, violence. 50 murders last year in the U.S. were linked to right-wing extremism. That's the highest number of such killings since 1995, the year of the Oklahoma City bombing. Democrats today took Trump to task for the words he chooses to use.
That kind of language from the person who probably has the loudest microphone on the planet Earth is hurtful and dangerous, and it tends to incite violence.
White House Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney today countered Trump is in fact trying to prevent such violence, describing Trump this way.
The president is not a white supremacist. I'm not sure how many times we have to say that.
For his part, Trump went to church across from the White House today, with undocumented migrants not far from his thoughts, later tweeting praise for those who've backed his push for a border wall. Paul Hunter, CBC News, Washington.